I always had this fascination with like ghosts and, you know, all the different folklore, you know, about like vampires and werewolves and like, how did all this come about? Like, there's some, again, did something happen way back when? Sure, maybe, I don't know. Science is trying to prove all these different things, you know, whatever. So now that we have aliens, and I'm just throwing that out there, thank you, government. Bring on the vampires. No, because I know they're out there. And here's why. I'm going to tell you a funny story that actually happened. And in Milan, here's the setting. It was a tattoo convention that we were out there. And Milan is the fashion capital of the world. Everybody knows that. It's cool. Okay, cool. And what was funny was there's some beautiful people out there. Yeah. Like, really beautiful people, which, again, if you don't have blemishes or a broken nose, such as this crooked thing, or, you know, anything like that, I'm going to question if you're alive or not. There were these, like, statuesque people walking around, you know, and anyhow, we're one of the busiest days, and I'm a people watcher, so I'm joking with everybody in my booth, and I'm like, vampire, there's another one. Vampire, definitely a vampire. Like, you know, like just joking, like, because there are, you know, with all the folklore and all the history and all the movies and all the stuff, like, they've kind of put vampires in a coffin. They put them in a box, you know. So like, it was funny. So long story even shorter, short story even longer. There's about 27 to 30,000 people in this huge, I mean, it was insane. It was almost nerve-wracking. Like, you're like, oh my God, there's so many people here. Wow. Like, what the balls? So there's two lines of just people, and there's tons and tons of artists, and they're tattooing, and everybody's talking, there's music, there's everything going on. So much noise, and just, there's no way you could hear anybody, like, talking if we're talking just normally, you know? So my jackass was like, vampire, yeah, vampire, you know, like, do this, you know, just, and all of a sudden, this couple just walking through the crowd. And it's a guy and a girl, and she's kind of shortish, you know, not too short, not too tall, but like pixie frame, you know, still, you know, very fashionable, beautiful lips, beautiful face, beautiful hair, jet black hair. And the one thing I noticed was she had like no pupils, like she had black eyes, like she had the white, you know, and she was beautiful, gorgeous, very. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, like, what the hell, you know? So I'm sitting there like, huh. And then I see the dude next to her, right, who's like, you can tell he's stocky, you know, and he's got this chiseled jaw, just the right amount of stubble, full stubble. Both of them had no blemishes, no red marks, no scars, no nothing. Wow. And his eyes were kind of black. And mind you, this is in a very well-lit area. And I'm thinking, why are their eyes black? That was one. I'm in a very detail-oriented job. Yeah. I see everything. Hair, nails, teeth, everything, right? So I see this couple, and it was funny because my wife goes, why are you checking her out? And I said, her, them. That's a gorgeous couple. That dude is, yeah, I'm pretty sure, he's a good looking dude. And so the thing that caught my eye, which I had to tell somebody, you know, so the thing that caught my eyes, there's this whole sea of people, right? Table, people getting tattooed, sea of people. And they're walking, and nobody's bumping into them. It's really? Almost as if nobody can see them. Wow. And they're walking together, but they're like on an escalator.
Just kind of
gliding. Like just gliding, like, you know, but just smooth. And they look bored. You know, like they're just observing. They're just here, you know, and they're just very, you know, and he's in like this puffy jacket, scarf, little beanie cap on the back. And I'm like, bitch, you know, like, you look good. Like I hate you, you know? So I don't know if I was checking him out or checking her out, both of them, whatever. Anyway, so they're far from me. I'm on like a corner booth. They're far enough to where I see them, and I'm like, vampires. Definitely. Those two. 100%. Without a doubt. Vampires. And I was told from my wife, shut the fuck up. I'm like, sorry, I can't. And she's like, stop staring. And I'm like, I cannot. So I'm like, I'm watching and I'm watching and I'm watching and I'm watching. And all of a sudden, the girl goes, and she, and I'm like staring, looking, and I go, vampires for sure. And the girl looks over at me. I mean, makes dead eye contact and looks at me and goes, like a little curl smile, like a, turns to the dude and goes, like, you see her lips moving, but again, it was a weird communication thing, like, whatever. And I look at him, he looks at me, dead set, boom, looks me right in the eyes, and he goes, like that. And I'm like, what? True fucking story. Gives me the chills every time I tell it. And I'm like, what is going on? So next thing I know, they're walking closer and closer. And she looks at me again. And I mean, like, look, I'm looking, and I'm an asshole. I'm not an asshole, but I'm like, she's trying to stare me down. And I'm like, you can stare me all you want. I'm going to stare you right back. And I'm following her. I see you. And I'm like, and she's walking by, and I'm walking, and I'm just like this. Mm-hmm. And she's staring, and I'm staring, and it's intense, dude. I'm like, whoa, like, wow. She's like staring at my soul, and it was really crazy. And so I'm like, what the balls? And as they're turning, and the guy is just like bored. He's just walking, And as they're turning, she looks at me one more time and goes, huh. And I'm like, oh, you are the one, like. Bitch, I knew it. I fucking knew it. So I'm like, I was right. So I don't care what anybody says, because after that, which was really crazy, went to the cathedrals and went to the, all the other stuff. And I've got tons of pictures. Again, I got pictures of everything. We go to the cathedral and look at, like, and I start asking the bishops and the people that, like the priests and whatever. Mm-hmm. And I said, so what is the folklore? What is it? What is everything about vampires? And they're like, like, we don't talk about that. Ooh. And I was like, ooh, why? Like.
Funny enough,
it's crazy
saying that. Yeah, it's so I read a book once called The Secret History of the World mm-hmm. by Mark Booth, and he basically, his introduction was explaining that he went through all of these secret societies and ancient societies just to understand their philosophy, their religion, mm-hmm. and just what their knowledge of history was. And he explained that, like, we used to live in a time way back when where our minds were completely conscious and open. So, like, mm-hmm. every thought, every emotion, we felt everything, and including, like, the spiritual world, all that stuff.
Yeah.
We were exposed to all of it. And, like, also mermaids, very good example. So if you actually look at mermaids and you go down the hole, mermaids are connected to sirens in Greek mythology.
Yep.
But even going before that, if you look at the Bible, for example, the mermaids, the sirens, according to theology, they were actually the first wives of the fallen angels that mm-hmm. fell from heaven.
Yep.
And because of the sin they committed, they were banished by God to the bottom of the ocean, mm-hmm. in which then, therefore, they would use singing, stuff like that, in order to lure out fishermen, stuff like that.
Yep.
Take them.
Yep.
So it's crazy, like what I was saying with Socrates. Do we actually know what we know?
That's what I said, like, definitively, like, 100%, without a doubt, do we know? Mm-hmm. No, we don't. Because, again,
we'll never know.
The world may never know. That's right. I mean, but it's weird because I believe, again, I believe what I saw. I mean, there's no fucking way that lady, there's no way, none, that she heard me, and let alone to look at me and then smile and like acknowledge. Yeah, to acknowledge. And then to bird whisper to the dude, and he's like, yeah. And then he looks at me too, and he's like, ha ha ha. Like, to acknowledge. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, But the funnier thing was, like, I kind of like, I'm gonna go check them out, and I couldn't find them at all.
Wow.
Yeah, and it really wasn't like they were hard to not find, because dude's in a big orange puffy jacket, and they're stylish and they look the same, and so when I turned the corner and I'm looking for them, they couldn't have gone far. The escalator only took them 2 miles an hour or whatever, or a mile an hour or whatever, but it was just crazy to me, and the fact that even happened, and I'm like, okay, what did I just see?
Yeah.
So then in retrospect, I'm like, I can't find him anywhere. The Joker in me was like, they're watching me from the rafters. They're like, you can't see me. They're hanging up there. I didn't even look up. I was like, there they are.
You're like, I won't give that chance.
Yeah. I was like, bite me, take me, you'll love me, I swear. They didn't want Mexican food. I don't know. Maybe that was that. So